Yeah, there's one that's been
change.
noted.
Yeah. That was on the attendance for January 11th.
That the IG was here?
No, he has a, he
Yeah,
has
IG
a,
was- the
he
IG
has a
was there.
secret, he has a secret camera.
Which IG? IG was here.
I don't know.
Gee.
Your counsel?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure you got it. Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's improve customer service.
There you go.
We're gonna do, are you ready, brother? You okay? Okay, we're gonna skip and do our reports after, because we're gonna have a briefing here from the railroad regarding some of the proposals to do some interesting things over the next couple of months. So, Hector, you want to take it from there?
Sure. Thank you, Mark. So, I know at the last board meeting you heard the talk about the performance improvement plan, and there was a brief introduction to that. We've been working on that all year, so it's being finalized. So I'll give you some highlights on it, and then we'll have a discussion. So it's pretty much like a top-down review of based on some of the.
You're going to give out something, the list or something?
Yes.
Not the presentation.
But then I don't want anybody to be distracted while I'm talking. No, I'm just kidding. We'll have it out. So it's like a review based on some of the incidents, this past year. We went down into the organization to different departments of, listen, see what some of the people that work in certain areas kind of saying what the problems are, what resources they need. So that's kind of what it was like, all hands on deck kind of thing to identify problems and try to suggest solutions. And then those things were evaluated to see what resources were needed and to see if we thought those could be effective. The overall goal was to improve the customer experience, and then those were targeted on 3 different areas, which was preventing incidents.
Are we sure that Larry can hear? Can you check and be sure?
Can you hear me?
Larry? Larry, can you hear us?
Yeah, well, I don't know, he muted us.
Yes, I do hear you.
Okay,
Okay, no worries, we just wanted to be sure.
sorry.
No, I'm hearing that pretty loud and clear.
Oh, okay. So the three main areas was preventing some incidents that impact service. We wanted to increase the responsiveness to incidents when they happen, and also recover faster when they do happen, and improve communications to the customers and the public. So those were what we targeted. So the focus was on so those are the main things. And so actually we could hand it out now, Rich. So we came down to different activities. So it was like, okay, how do you improve performance? Like it got down to what are the activities that we're going to be doing that are going to make things a little better.
A little better or a lot better?
Well, a lot better overall. Well, each one, some of them a little, but they add up. And then overall, it wasn't just we wanted to focus on these activities, but it's also about making the employees more accountable too. So you're going to see in the left column, there's a department is responsible for each of the activities. So like that first page, these are all engineering related things. So like, which is the one that's the Willis Avenue?
So that will be under the, it's a service reliability measure to help prevent cars from turning onto the tracks where there's adjacent parallel roadways. I believe it's item A9. So if you want to talk about the pilot that's in place at Willis Avenue.
So remember there was an incident a month or so ago in Willis Avenue where there's been a lot of things about cars getting onto the tracks. So what it is people's GPSs tell them, when you go over the tracks, turn right. And in some instances, you have a kind of an open space along the right-of-way, and then like a road, and it's in a dark street kind of. So people they go over the tracks and they just turn immediately. They're actually going onto the right-of-way, not onto the street that's right beyond it. So as a test pilot, we just started putting in over the last few weeks is, like in parking lots, you have these little stick things that kind of stick up. That like if you drive over it, it'll flop, but then it's kind of lets you know something's there. So we put those along the crossing there. Where normally all right-of-ways are open. People need to be able for emergencies to access, but we put these things there to try, and we painted a stripe along the edge with reflectors on it. So when cars are turning, they kind of maybe realize, hey, this is not a street. So that's like a test we're doing at that crossing, because that's when something happens at that location. Obviously, it affects a lot of trains when it happens at rush hour. So that's kind of the things we're looking at. So it's activities that decrease these incidents that cause delays for many trains. Related to that is like track employees. So there's certain critical areas that incidents tend to happen many times. So we're gonna have extra crews like overnight, not just during snowstorms, but then in some instances just during rush hours to have them positioned there. So when something does happen, they can respond quickly. We're not waiting an hour. You're not waiting an hour till they get there to inspect it, and so those are the kind of activities.
Is there anything that the town or the counties could do on their end to help? Since it may be not on tracks, it's maybe in their areas or something that they can do to help out? It may not be rare on property sometimes if we go past the track.
I mean, right now we're focusing on ours, and then that would be the next step. But right now we've been focusing just.
Well, if there's anything, we'd be more than happy to help
Okay.
work with them and some suggestions. And shouldn't be burden all on you.
Mhm.
So we should share it.
And actually, Rich, I missed there was those three, the seasonal preparedness. What was those three categories?
So seasonal preparedness, service reliability, and communications improvements. So that's what these three, there are three sort of packages here that the activities are grouped by.
And then can you point out some of the key ones that they would probably find important?
Sure. So, you know, just going through, we'll just talk about some of the list. For example, you know, as I spoke about, it's also doing more inspections, more activities to try to prevent things like broken rails and switch problems from happening before they begin. So you'll see some activities in here. For example, the first one, we're going to be looking more closely at the grade crossings. Grade crossings, they're a little harder to find, from what I understand, broken rail and rail issues. So we're going to be developing a plan to look at those closely, inspect those to catch these, you know, small defects before they
Like
grow
currently
into
we inspect the rails and like we did every tracks get inspected currently. At grade crossings, you have these concrete pads, water infiltrates, there's stuff underneath there. It turns out there's issues underneath there, so we're doing these more thorough inspections we're going to start doing to kind of anticipate before the whole thing fails to catch that before it happens. And then even with the thing with broken rails and like flat wheels, you know, tend to lead to broken rails because they're creating greater impact. So we're going to be looking at acquiring these new sensors that kind of will detect when there's more vibration in a certain sections of track, so that we can respond to it quickly and you can figure out which train it is immediately and get that out of service so it's not causing damage. So those are the kind of things that we've been focusing on.
So yeah, we talked about prevention, we talked about response. You know, we're adding crews. I think we've mentioned, you know, with the goal of reducing response time and getting crews out there more quickly. We spoke about the broken rails, flat wheels. I don't know if there's anything else.
How about for communications?
Yeah, so for communications, you know, that's the I think it's the last one.
So
Among the things we're doing in communications is we are, we're
Could
meeting
you just
with,
get your name to everybody?
I'm Stanley Davis, I'm the Director of the Public Information Office. We have an outside consulting group that is meeting with my staff. They're setting up training modules where they're going to teach us how to better interact with customers when we make our announcements about things going on, so that customers, we're going to try and be more empathetic. Like right now we're more informational, so if a train's being delayed, we say train's being delayed. Now we're going to try to put ourselves in the customer's shoes so that when we're telling them what's happening, we're talking to them in ways that they can feel that we truly understand what it is that they're dealing with. So, you know, we're sorry if you're on your way to a game right now, or a concert. And
The outside consultant, you have them already, you've hired them?
they were working with the New York City Transit Authority, or currently they've been working with the conductors so that they could make better announcements. We're using the same group.
Okay, so we would ask, I mean, hopefully, we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, and it hasn't changed now, but that we would like to be part of that, and a subset of our committee work with you, because the phrasing is the phrasing we would like to hear as riders. As an outside consultant, I'm not sure if they're commuters, but I think you should be hearing from the commuters the kind of wording we would like to see.
Okay.
Sometimes it's surprising. Just the innocent words set people off. The word accommodate, when your train is canceled and you got to get train 20 minutes later, you'll be accommodated. You'll be accommodated. I just got, you know, it's like you're doing them a favor, and I mean, you know, it's very innocent, but for someone who's just had a rough day at work and, you know, there's no beer cart for them anymore, and then it's like, what? You're gonna accommodate me? Thanks.
I paid for the ticket.
Yeah, it's a very minor thing, but you'd be surprised.
But it's a common railroad word.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hilton passageway.
That was an example. An email went out about something about we're closing down the Hilton passageway for the day. No one knows what the Hilton passageway is.
You know what? There's a sign that is.
But I'm saying,
Yeah,
you know,
I didn't
realize that.
When you get back there, there's a
No,
sign.
I looked for the sign. I grew up in New York. I've been in Penn Station thousands of times. And when I saw something about the Hilton Passageway, I said, what the hell? And we had a whole discussion, this was a few years ago, whole discussion back and forth on our email thing about what's the Hilton Passageway?
Back passage?
Yeah, that's it, right. Well,
I
but
use
then,
both.
like, how do you identify,
know,
someone has to, and this was supposed to happen years ago, they're supposed to come up with some better way of identifying sections of Penn Station, better signage and that whole, but that's never happened, and I don't understand where that is.
So,
Because Penn Station's a mess.
my point is, if we can just, we need to relate to you as
Okay.
people actually using the system versus being an outside consultant, and we tell you, which is great, but I think you've got consultants here for free.
So the good thing is, so Stanley's from PIO.
Yeah, we met.
Right.
No, but
Yeah, we met
Yeah,
the-
I'm just saying.
people
My
are
point
not-
was that they're gonna start, somebody from the PIO is gonna be attending your meetings every month. So there'll be
Oh, okay,
opportunities to
oh,
have,
that's better,
to have these
okay.
discussions.
That'd be
So-
great.
That's very good. Okay, that's a great.
And the other thing, part of that too is like progressive messaging. So again, sometimes you know you're late on a train and you know you're stuck there for a long time, but people are saying the same thing, just we're gonna be saying a little bit different and trying to make it giving a little bit more information as we have it. You know, like the ME is here now, but it might be a little
I'm
longer.
gonna give you an example that I gave to you.
Oh, sorry, we know nothing.
Just an example that I gave to you. I was on a train where the trains were delayed because a car got hit. Normally, you would just hear on the train, we're delayed. We'll let you know, that's it. And you get annoyed. You get mad at the rail, why am I late? They started to announce what was happening. A train was struck, a car was struck by a train. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. I'm like, no, people were no longer mad at the railroad, they were mad at the idiot
The idiot who
who
drove
drove
on.
it. It changed the whole train. I mean, the difference between the anger towards the conductors was gone. And it's such an easy fix. So I'm glad that you're on it. I'm glad that you'll be at our meetings, or someone will be. We really want to be very active in helping us.
And some of the things,
But that communication goes beyond that. Even when you're sitting at a station, waiting for a train that's not coming, and it's not canceled, it's not, and there's a train sitting on the other track, because there was somebody struck by the train, the next station down, and when you call up, and they say, well, we don't know anything, they knew nothing on the phone.
And then related to that is, you know, the signs that the AVPS sends to the platforms, you know, those are based on timing points, and
Right.
it's not a perfect system. We're gonna be adding more timing points and more equipment to be able to improve that. And then also it's gonna be, countdown clocks, so that,
Yes, I see that.
so you'll be able to get that.
Soon too, right?
By the
Like
end
July
of, by
this
the
year?
end, by August. by
Is
the end
that
of summer.
different than what we have now in mind, where it says it'll be here in 4 minutes, 3 minutes? Is it different than that?
I think it's putting that onto the signs at the stations.
I mean, it's on my electronic board now.
What station are you at right now?
Wide
We have
dash.
5 stations
Wide
right
dash.
now that have
They
traffic.
have it at Mineola too.
Mineola has
So,
it. I
but
sent it
is
to
that what
Mineola.
you're talking about, or something
Yeah,
different than
so
that?
other stations, like, they don't have the good timing points, so like, I know I'm at Baldwin, and like, the train comes from Freeport, and like, the time point is right before the platform, so, you know, it's on time until right before it pulls in, for example, you know, so we have to fix that before we implement it everywhere else.
But I'm saying, Glenn, is that what you're talking about doing, or something different?
Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about, you'll see it, like right now, if you're standing at a platform, it'll say,
It's coming in 3 minutes.
or it'll say, you know, on time. And meanwhile, it's 2 minutes after the train should have came, but the sign is saying on time.
Yes.
It's gonna be
Then
real
once
time.
it gets to 6 minutes, all of a sudden you'll see delayed.
Right.
And then only once it's 10 minutes or more, do you start to get an idea of how long late, 10 minutes late, 15. Now, what it'll do is start counting down. So if the train is due in 10 minutes, it'll say 10 minutes,
So I'm
9
saying, so the
minutes,
one
8
that in
minutes.
mind, which
Right.
now it says,
Right.
train will be here in 3 minutes.
Right.
That's what you're talking about doing.
That's what they're talking
That's
about
okay.
doing. They're also adding points 1,000 feet before the train arrives, where it'll say arriving. So once it hits that timing point, the sign will say arriving, and then 1,000 feet after it leaves the station, there's another timing point that clears the sign, so you're not looking up and thinking, if let's say you got there after the train's already left, you don't still see arriving and think you're going to catch your train. You know that that train's gone for the day. So they're putting in a lot more timing points. Ultimately, they're putting in a lot more enhancements into the timing point so that the signs could be a lot more accurate for customers. Because right now. We didn't have enough information going into those timing points, so you might be standing there saying one thing. Sometimes the sign will say, the train is coming in 10 minutes, and you're sitting in your car saying, I got 10 minutes, and then you see a train pulling, and you're like, oh my God, you're scrambling to get up to the platform. So that's because the last time it hit a timing point, it was 10 minutes, it was running 10 minutes late. But it picked up time as it was coming to its next station, but the sign is still reading 10 minutes late, so you think you have more time than you actually have. So
Will that information
discussed that.
also be available audibly?
When it updates, yeah, well, once it hits that arriving thing, it'll trigger an audible announcement.
Right, but like the countdown time is?
I don't know if it'll be doing, because
Maybe on a 5-minute increment?
right, well,
you know,
what
something like
happens
that.
is, we're also concerned about customers standing on the platform. If every time a train is getting closer, there's an audible announcement. If you live in the neighborhood, all you hear is 5 minutes away, 4 minutes away, 3 minutes away. After a while, you're calling us up saying, turn that thing off.
So we have that at some stations. Residents are so close that they're getting annoyed by announcements.
So we are always cautious
The
about
signage, new signs in
Places,
awful,
they're pretty close.
awful.
Will the,
All I see is
will
dots.
the new countdown, that going as you're redoing stations or beforehand?
No, the countdown, that's gonna be implemented by the end of the summer by August.
Yeah, they can do it.
So
They're gonna be solid
So
signs or
usually here
those
we'll do
dots?
that.
Those dots,
it's the same signs that are there now.
dots.
when you say that. So you mean,
I'm legally blind,
I know.
so all I see is yellow, well, the new signs are really awful. They try to put the colors on them, but the old signs is just orange dots on black background.
And then one other thing for the PIOs that's gonna help kind of how they do their messaging is they're gonna start having the employees go out to the field and visit each station and know and be familiar with what's out there. So as they're making the announcements, they can.
so yeah, my staff has started field trips so that they can actually experience what our customers go through as they hit certain key locations. And so far, the feedback I'm getting from my staff is it's been very, very educational for them to actually see something in action.
If I could throw out there, that's, you know, as you're building more and more of these local transit development centers, whatever needs to be built around, you know, the trains, is there a way you can cooperate with the local stores that have countdown clocks in the stores? So if you're shopping, you know, we've asked for that in Penn Station. We've asked them here in Coronado, and they do it to put it into the stores that are here. You can think about doing it, asking the cooperation to do it. So if you want to go get a newspaper, you can go into the store and see I've got 4 minutes, 3 minutes, or this, you know, because very often you don't want to leave, you're not really sure, and when you get there, it's a delay. I would throw out there when you discuss with these people who are coming in and are going to be making money off around the railroad, if you passed, you know, to do something like that.
The only one I knew of in Penn Station they eliminated was those one, it used to be one of McDonald's. Where you
Right,
could check the
we
time,
had asked
and
them to put in
that
all
one got
the
removed,
stores
so.
like Dwayne Reed, I mean, so if you're shopping, you can keep an eye on when your train is, but you know, that was already coming in, hasn't built yet, so maybe you could talk about it.
So some of these things is being.
What's that, Larry?
I think he was talking to somebody
Yeah,
else.
I'd like to just throw one thing in. I think when we had the meeting, they pointed to the arrival time on the train time app, which was kind of cool. Unfortunately, it's wrong. It doesn't work. It says the train is going to arrive in, it says 0, and the train isn't even in sight. Now, I don't know if it's still taking into account the 5:59,
No.
the 5:59 lateness doctrine,
No, that's
but
not.
the arrival time that's on the app is pretty much not.
No, that's the thing. It's based on the timing points we have now. It's not perfect. That's why we're gonna fix that, and it's gonna be good for the app. And it's gonna be good for everywhere. But that we're aware of that. That's an issue.
They are making enhancements, the same problems that we have with the station signs where a timing point might not be until 10 minutes and then it'll pick up time, or it may get delayed. But the last timing point says one thing, it won't trigger a new time until it hits the next timing point. Those are the areas that they're working on right now to improve, so that whether it's the mobile app or the station signs, you will start to see better information coming off of those two entities.
Oh, what?
I didn't hear you guys say that it was part of the app too. Sorry about that.
Yeah, one good thing with all this that you're talking about is there's one thing that really ticks commuters off is you do have cases where you have disappearing trains, where you're waiting for the 601, it's showing it as on time, it hasn't shown up at 6:05, and then it goes off the board, and it just shows, you know, the next train, the 6:39 or whatever, and it's like, what the hell happened to my train? It just disappeared, you know? And it doesn't always happen, but it does occasionally happen, and it's something that really sets commuters off. Just,
I've experienced it myself, and that's another one of those things that should be fixed as they put in these enhancements.
And we have one thing just for Jerry.
you took down the pigeon netting, it's okay.
And also, one of the things is on the diesel fleet, there's not good communications on those.
No.
Right? There's none actually, probably, because all the signs haven't been working. So we're going to be expediting and fixing the signs inside the diesel fleet so that they're going to be able to show the stops and all that information.
Okay, because my understanding was when they originated the diesel fleet, that was on markers that were on the tracks that got snowed up. So what you really need is GPS like you have on the M7s, right? Is
Can you
that,
talk to this at all?
No, yeah, but that's, I think, what they're moving towards on the diesel fleet.
Yeah.
Be more GPS.
And that's gonna be done by when?
That, I think, is also the third quarter of this year.
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great.
The best result would be to make them electric and get rid of diesel.
So we have these activities, some of the stuff is underway, some of them, you know, is still be determined, so then we're doing all these things, but then how is that gonna relate to performance, and how is it gonna matter to you as a customer in the communications? So we're gonna start, you know, we're also gonna be improving our metrics. So some of these activities are gonna become some metrics, and we're gonna be tracking the results of these over time, and we're gonna be reporting on that. So one thing that's gonna be revealed shortly is gonna be an interactive dashboard, where like, it's a monthly, you know, so you go to the board meetings, you have the book, the OTP, is just like a static chart. There's going to be an interactive chart. So you'll be able to pull up by month, by year, go back 5 years, and compare it any way you want to do it. So all that data is going to become available. And then also some of the data of like 15 or more train delayed. What's another one?
Major events, average delay, the metrics, yeah, that
So
are.
we're going to do some more.
I think, you know, our biggest complaint about on-time performance is the transfer to Jamaica.
Oh, whether that's tracked.
I don't know how we need to resolve that, how that's fixed. The issue is if you're on the train and you're running late, so you get to Jamaica and you miss your transfer, you have to wait another hour for your train. The train you were on makes up time and comes in on time. You're deemed as being on time, but you're an hour late to work. And that statistic is not being picked up, those people who have missed that transfer, and they're late. But so, we've been talking this for a while. Is there a way of tracking that? Because it's the customer, as you call them, riders, we call them. It's their getting on time, not the train gets in on time. It's the rider get to work on time.
You track it, but then how do you, it's hard to say.
It would be an estimated amount because you know if the train misses the connection, right? You also have, you did counts, so you have an idea of how many people from that train are transferred to the train that's going to whatever it's going to. If they missed Brooklyn, probably Brooklyn, actually, because you're not going to.
Comes back the other way.
Eastbound,
Yeah, well,
you start off at
yeah.
Atlantic
You have an idea, so
Terminal,
you have to, I mean, the way, Transit's doing things like this now in their statistics, the way they compute additional wait time, additional travel time. If you'd base it on your counts, which would be an estimated amount, but, I mean, standees are that way too. You know, standee numbers are, which are, I mean, that's, I think I should do that. I'm not sure it's okay. You could ask people, you know, the people at Transit who come up with these statistics probably have
Yeah,
some
statistics
to it.
people, operations planning people, yeah, they have a lot, they have done some models and they, you know, they can at least they at least have an idea of what they're, you know.
A missed transfer statistic would be interesting. Although, you know,
Not all trains that reach a station are actually a legal transfer for a train somebody's getting off. Sometimes people say, oh, when I get to this station, if I run, I can catch this train, but that may not be a legal transfer for that train. Therefore, they won't hold that train to connect.
all right. No, we're not talking about those. We're talking about real.
That's right, yeah,
Late,
but we
the
have
train is late,
yeah.
and the transfer isn't held.
It's more an issue, I guess, like in Babylon or on Ronkonkoma, or, you know.
Really?
No, I'm saying, you miss it connected to Greenport, you're in trouble.
Yeah, as opposed to Jamaica.
In Jamaica, people
Well,
will be going,
I've had later in the morning transfer with the train to transfer to Jamaica, to Brooklyn, there was a gap. Later, not, you know, later in the late.
Your train was late,
later
and
morning,
the
night,
Brooklyn,
right.
your Brooklyn connection left, right?
Right,
Yeah,
so
would
I had to
think
wait a
Brooklyn-
long time, so I ended up being late, although my trains may have both been on time, I was late. And that's where we want to make it, the riders on time, not the train.
And judges
Yeah,
frown
throw it
on
out
that,
again.
when he shows up late to court, you know, judges really.
I call him in for the line, the letter that says they're late, and they can't give it to me because both trains are on time.
But
Yeah.
can I, so
That's
the
small.
train you were on that was late arriving in Jamaica and missed a connection, wouldn't that be regarded as late
Well, I
into
just said-
Penn, wherever it was
No, I
going?
just said,
It's
if it,
Yeah.
if it makes up the time,
Yeah.
it comes into Penn
Ah,
on
if
time.
it makes up time.
Yeah.
It's
It gets to
considered,
its terminal on
It's
time.
all
Yeah.
It's on
terminals
time.
on.
That happened to me today in Jamaica. I had to wait a half hour, missed the train by 1 minute.
so, anyway, we've talked about, but this may be a time to revisit that if you're doing all this work.
But do you hold trains? I was talking to
Yeah, we had that conversation out at the,
In certain instances, they are held, but then there's consequences to how long you held certain trains, because you start backing up, you start affecting, you start causing more delays. in
Yes,
a
no, I
sense. So
understand
it's a
that.
decision that gets.
Yeah, that's why I'm not saying,
But in the case of a train, for instance, to Greenport, on the Greenport branch, if you don't hold the connection at Ronkonkoma, you know, it's an 8-hour wait in some cases, so obviously
Well,
you're gonna hold
they
it.
don't-
Well, and,
there's
well,
nobody on
and
the
there's,
train.
and there's nobody on the train because.
Well,
that's
that train, no.
people on the train.
But on the Montauk line, I think that may happen because you have to run, you don't wanna hold the train a half hour, an hour, because you need the train to come back the other way.
Yeah,
So you will lose.
I didn't mean
There's
to-
limits.
I know, that was,
But it'd be an interesting, it'd be an interesting to see if that's happening.
and another thing I think, was about like the category of delays and, you know, how we have customers and that, like, that's being improved too, like, so they're parsing out.
Yeah, crowd, you know, I've always been critical of crowding, because I think it's a symptom of another delay. So I think attributing things to crowding, unless it's some
it's gonna
event at the garden.
It's gonna be, so that there's gonna be a new thing about certain things
Yeah.
are basically because of events, it's not the people's fault, it's the event, and then.
Well, that's okay, no, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, it says heavy crowding event, that's fine, but I'm fine, but that's a cause of delay, that's what happened, but sometimes this the general overcrowding thing, and transit does this even worse than railroad does, and I just said, what's this about? You know, if we ran all our trains on time, which is very difficult to do, transit and this age, you wouldn't have that unless those specific events, you wouldn't have it. As much as crowded as some of our trains are, but I don't believe that if we had all the, and sometimes a short train will cause overcrowding and a delay, because, you know, you get heavy loading or unloading because the train is a short 2 cars, the trains are packed anyway.
That's pretty much what I have. You guys have any questions?
yeah, the biggest problem that I've been hearing in my neck of the woods, you know, the leaves have fallen, the wheels should all be fixed, and yet we're still running a lot of short trains. A lot of 12-car trains are 10s, a lot of 10-car trains are 8. It's causing a lot of crowding, and it's like, where's the relief? What happens? It's like cars disappeared, and just wondering what's going on with that.
It's kind of like a perfect storm. You had those things happening, and then remember with some of the Amtrak stuff, you started consolidating the trains, and you started, when you cancel something, you started making some concerts longer, and then there's just a shortage of cars. But can you talk about, Rich, about what we're doing about the?
Yeah, no, we recognize that, and there are some activities in here under the seasonal reliability grouping to address that. It's we are planning to do more vegetation management, you know, remove some of the brush along the right of way, do some more, increase that production rate so you have fewer leaves falling on the tracks, causing the slip slide, causing the trains to get taken out of service due to flat wheels. We're also going to be looking to see if we can make any improvements to the cars that, the sandite cars that put the sandite on the tracks to increase adhesion. So we're looking towards things like that. And then the big thing is to really make sure that we have our wheel trailing capacity fully available for the upcoming fall season. I think there's an issue with getting Arch Street totally online for the last fall.
So what are we going to have this winter as opposed to last winter?
This winter we'll have the existing Hillside and I believe Morris Park as a shop too, and we'll have Arch Street for the whole season. That's the priorities to get that up.
That's the flat wheel issue.
That's the flat wheel issue, yeah.
But I mean, supposedly by that time you'll have enough M9s, you'll be able not to run as many M3s. You have an M3 problem with burnt out motors as well this winter. So hopefully, I think there's some issues there. And I get a feeling that we are short of equipment, that we don't have enough spares. I don't know,
I mean,
so many short trains.
I mean, we've maximized the amount of we've maximized the amount of trains you run.
Right.
And you go beyond, well, I mean, you've gone like this, you're supposed to have a certain spare ratio.
Right.
But, those things have happened, but then also, with PTC, you have to put this equipment on all the trains. So trains have to get taken out of service to be prepared for
Okay,
PTC.
all right, right.
So that has added to the
Well, I've
shortage.
expressed my dissatisfaction with the rush to do this piece.
Okay, well, there's
That's another
something-
story. I don't get this too much.
Yeah, that's something I didn't consider, to be perfectly honest with you. It sounds like where these trains disappear to, if the wheels are all fixed, almost. But if you're taking trains out of service to put PTC in them, then it's, all right, that explains why,
Yeah, but they shouldn't, that shouldn't be.
You're not taking M3s out for PTC, are you?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
no, but they're taking M7s out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's regular now, by the way, the MDBF, the performance for the M7s is greater than the goal right now. Our equipment's very reliable. So that's why I'm looking at standees and stuff like this, and I'm wondering what's going on. And some of it's the train doesn't work, but I know cars aren't supposed to be. The short trains is a very bad thing on this, particularly along our railroad, we have a lot of crowded trains.
Yeah, that is probably the number one complaint that I've been hearing. I don't know, it's on Mark's
Yeah.
branch, but on the Babylon branch, short trains, that's it.
It's a killer.
It's a killer.
It's a killer for on-time performance.
What are we
too.
hearing about the new trains? Do we have any update as to when they're coming in?
In June, I think the plan is to start getting them on the property in June.
Is it to operate in June? Like, when you say that, is it gonna be operating in June, right? Or no?
When's revenue service?
That's what I'm
Revenue
saying.
service.
I thought it was in June.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get back with that.
Anything else you wanna go over? We'll see tours, you wanna just discuss whatever, just lay it out,
So,
out there, just get it out.
Now that the plan is pretty much being finalized, we're gonna start going on tour. So it's shortly. Stay tuned.
Get tickets early?
But not with this thing.
No.
This thing's for us, or for
Yeah, no.
Just a
Okay, part of
detailed list. You're gonna have something.
Part of
more
it is to
like that.
present the detail, like in a more presentation
Condensed
friendly.
and also a results oriented.
Yeah.
These are actions. You're gonna
And
tell
then,
people.
and really what's gonna matter
they're gonna
most
have
is this
results.
dashboard. We're gonna be revealing this dashboard, this interactive dashboard
Okay.
that'll go live.
Right.
That'll be really what people are gonna be, that's how you're gonna be able to know how this is working.
Just get to work on time.
Can you talk a little about summer? What's gonna happen, Amtrak?
All I know is that right now, the current schedule as is now is gonna continue to July, based on the work they're doing. And there's another phase coming right after that from what I hear, it's gonna be
We're
worse than
taking
what
out
it's.
track 19, right? So-
Yeah.
Right. So how's that gonna affect? How do you anticipate that affecting riders?
I mean, right now, we're gonna have to keep the same schedule we have now to do that, but then after that's done, say into like July into August, that there's another phase coming that I don't have all the details on, but
They said
that,
it's not gonna have any effect on the Long Island schedule. They're not gonna come out with new schedules.